energy of the earth herself vibrationally is forcing us into an awakening for our own best interest. And for some, it can have a feeling of volatility or a feeling of an inner quaking or resistance. But we still get these moments of bright clarity when it does seem possible. And it does give us hope that there is a new world, and all we need to do is lift that veil and open our eyes to see it. And what are some signs that we are shifting from 3D to 4D reality? Well, one of the most obvious signs is that we start to recognize our patterns and we begin to feel confined by them. Rather than just being who we are, being normally reactive, we start to feel inhibited by who we have been. And that box we live in has become too small. That persona, that being who we think we are that has been housing our reality, is a house now too small for us. And now we are becoming the home of God. And so we get these moments of recognition that we are doing this thing, but we actually are not this thing or this person. And we go back and forth for a while, and we're able to see ourselves more objectively. And it starts to feel inhibiting. That's the most obvious sign. And we recognize in our interactions with others patterns from the past that drive our behavior. And we start to feel the limitations. And when we feel those limitations, when they get great enough, we see ourselves at a threshold. We feel ourselves, we know. This is a make or break time for all of us as light workers. It's a time of spiritual activity on a very deep and profound level that takes a lot of power, takes spiritual warriorship. And so when we get to the threshold, sometimes we take a little step over and sometimes we take a little step back. But regardless of where we are today, I guarantee you are at the threshold and it is right before you. And so what are the ways that we can enter into the 4D reality more and more often so that we start to naturally loosen our grasp on this survival mentality we've been caught in for so many lifetimes, and those of our ancestors and our family and the bloodline that we're from? Because those ancestors lift us up, but those ancestors also require us to work through the darkness. Because the darkness keeps getting passed on. And we can't blame anyone where we find ourselves. We can make peace with who we are and what we hold. And so that is what a shift in consciousness requires, is that this is it. It's me. They didn't do it to me. It's me. The only power I have is to know it's in me. And here I am. I find myself at a place where I can't move forward and yet I can't go back. And that is what most light workers feel when they're at that threshold and something's about to happen. And how you get beyond that place of discomfort to a new horizon is that you realize that fear is not real. And the fear and the feeling in the body that feels so real is a phantom. We're in a time of transition. From 3D to 4D requires action. It requires a declaration, and it requires an awareness of where we find ourselves and an honest self-assessment. Because as a light worker, obviously the job is to become filled with more and more light. And to become filled with more and more light, we have to face the darkness. And we all have our own darkness, and that darkness gets more and more subtle and more tricky the higher we get. And that is the catch, is that self-deception becomes more likely. And so we have to really do the practices that help us to increase our self-awareness. Have people around us who help us to see the truth of who we are, rather than support the past of who we have been. And so the awakening involves stepping into the unknown and practicing being present, not projecting, not being reactive, not suppressing, but letting who you are flow without fear and getting it out and letting it move and letting the energy move and just practice being the vessel for the divine in whatever's coming through, because it's all the Great Mother. But in times of transformation or transition, there tends to be an edge to the energy. And so we have to be able to have the skills to master that, what we come up against in others, in our everyday life. Because transformation is a process. And that process first involves something being broken down. In alchemy, it's the same thing. It needs its time to decay and rot. It needs its time, but a lot of the time we hold on to the rot and the death. And it pushes down our creative force. It pushes down our life force. And we go through life like everything's okay and we're all under control, but we're really not. It's just that we need to do the practices that get the darkness up and out. And this is what these deities do, because they're very awake. And it's very bright like lightning. And it's very confrontational to that part of us, that survival part of us, that ego persona part of us that has become so much of who we are, we can't often see it. And so when we're in the transitional phase at that threshold, there needs to be like a little quantum leap where for some reason, somehow, we're able just to take a jump over that threshold. And then we find ourselves under that bright light, and then we slowly get used to that bright light. And that's called, just exposing ourselves to it. Exposing ourselves to the thing that we fear and being with it. And not reacting and not projecting and not lashing out, but observing and being in the space with total honesty. Because transformation requires a great level of courage and adjustment. And it requires surrender. And it requires that we stay awake to the process. And that we stay on the path. And that we keep up on our practices. And that we have some regulated self-discipline. And that we start to simplify our lives and really sharpen the gaze and sharpen the focus and start bringing everything into alignment and get that train going and get that stream going and get that light shining and expose ourselves to higher levels of reality when we come together and become one voice, as we were in this recent retreat, and the mantras we do all day and the sharing we do in the afternoon to overcome the fear of inertia or the fear of not being able to speak our truth. Or whatever it is for whoever it is that we take a step into the unknown. We have that opportunity. And this is what we practice in our everyday life after that. And then we take pilgrimages, for an example. So we'll be going to India in January. And we do that to expose ourselves to high spiritual frequencies and vibrations. Because all I'm really talking about, transitioning from 3D to 4D, is that it really is that our body needs to feel like it can let go. Our body is holding on to the past and the memories and the anger and the fear. And our body needs to... So when our body starts to raise its frequency, it starts to throw the darkness off. Or when we come into a high vibrational space, we feel good at first, and then it starts to pull out our poisons. And we need to stay with our poisons. We are here to raise our frequency, even in the chaos. And so being able to be present in our own chaos and hold on to the center and be non-reactive and to rise into the heart in the four-dimensional reality and to come from a place of non-defensiveness and love and a relaxed engagement with our reality. Because we get very tight when we hold on. And that tightness takes everything we have. And so when we don't feel safe in our life, we have to ask ourselves where we're holding on. Because in order to move up to the next level, we have to say goodbye to the old ways, to the old people, to the old reactions, to the old memories. And we have to really detox ourselves on an energetic level. Because we can eat all the pure foods we want, We can do all the mantras we want, but the day will come when the test is always going to come to each and every one of us, those tests, those moments. And how we react to them can show us where we are. And so we just keep trying, and we just keep getting back up and getting back up and trying to find the balance and trying to be honest and trying to be authentic. We give our own power away. Nobody takes it from us. And that we have the power to transform our reality, whatever situation we find ourselves in. We need to feel fully empowered. And when we don't, we have to ask ourselves why. And that is how we start acting differently in our own worlds so that we experience our worlds differently. So the shift from 3D to 4D, you will notice it in your body. You will notice it in your energy that you're taking in from other people. You will notice that you feel confined or limited by your old life or the life you're in right now, but you may not know what to do. And so just keep coming back to the center. Keep coming back to your heart. Keep staying and being with yourself. Find high vibrational places to go, people to be with, practices to do. Eat pure foods. Take care of your body so that your body can house the divinity, and let go of the persona. Because the fight really is, like Krishna said, in the heart. Because the light is coming in, but we're holding on. And so we need to find the peace in our heart. And it's about, who are we identifying with? This person that all these things have happened to that we remember, or are we identifying with the divine? Because even when we say we're identifying with the divine, we have to do the reckoning with the persona, with the past, with the people. We have to do the reckoning so the energy can flow once again. And so there is no bypassing, there is only embracing, and there is only moving forward and opening up. And whatever way that means for you is the way out for you, and over that threshold to a whole new reality shift. And so little by little, we take a step, we adjust, we take a step, we adjust. And we realize that we feel the way we feel, not because we're going crazy or because something's weird about us, is because there is a great energy shift on the planet, and the sounds coming from the earth are changing. And our body is making sounds, and it's trying to match the sounds of the earth. And the earth is asking us for more. The earth is asking us to let go of the past and move into the light, even greater light. And I know it's not easy. And I've had to do it in my own life. And we all have to do it in our own way. And so the practice of spirituality, the practice of what it means to be a worker of light, is not about, I always smile, I'm always good, I always follow all the spiritual rules. No, it's about coming into yourself, stepping into the truth of who you are, rather than living in the past of who you aren't. We have to be the one. We have to be the presence, and that presence is truth. We can't fake it. We have to be it, and it's a frequency, and it's a vibration. It's not a story we tell ourselves. It's for real this time. Life is short. And so I just want to say, when you see it, and when you feel that you might be caught in something, and you want to move out of it, and you recognize the pattern, this is a very positive thing, because the light is speeding up inside of you and all around you. And all we have to do, and all that is required of us, is to loosen up and be present. And let whatever needs to flow, flow. Creatively, tears, words. And once it's out, it's out. And we need to get this body moving the light, rather than the light being blocked by the karma of the past or the ancestors that doesn't really have very much to do with us now, but it does control us on a very deep level. And so I invite you all, once again, if anyone's interested in joining us in India, the cutoff date for people will be November 1st. You can change your whole life by doing this pilgrimage. And anyone who's interested can respond or go to my website, and then we would need to do a sort of interview to find out a little bit more about each other, and that would be all we need to do to move forward, unless I know you already. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. May the Mother Light bless us all, now, every moment, with every breath.